fellow Toastmasters? Alright, cats. Toastmaster. You ever had your car overheat before? Anybody? Mm-hmm. You ever wonder what causes an overheat? You ever wonder, like, gosh, why did this car overheat? Now, how many of us here are mechanics? Because some of you raise your hands that you've had overheats. How many are mechanics? Or at least kind of get under the hood and do stuff. Okay, very good. Well, I recently purchased a vehicle, actually two in the last week and a half or so. I bought a Camaro Z28 for $1,800. And I thought, well, why not? Let's make it a project car. My son and I were going to work on it together. Let's see what we could do with it. I told the seller, if it passes smog, I'll buy it. So we immediately took it, it passed smog, I said, well, here's the money, let's go. Now she said, these cars run hot. See, that's the first clue. I should have run, right? She said, these cars run hot. I've owned 3 Camaros prior to this one. I'm thinking, okay, go on with your storytelling. But she said, these cars run hot. So I suggest you always leave the air conditioning on. So I thought, well, okay. So let me ask you a question. If you leave the air conditioning on, what does that do to the engine, first off?
Keeps it up.
Works to work harder.
Keeps it up.
It what?
It
heats it up more, right? Heats it up more. But there's something else that turning on the air conditioning does to a vehicle. Does something you want to know?
Makes it cool inside.
It makes it cool inside, okay. True. But what does it do to the engine? That's the key. I don't know if I should take the time to draw it up here or just kind of work off of this. But I don't know if this is big enough or no. No? You want me to draw it on the board? Want me to take 2 seconds to draw it? Okay. Well, I'll tell you. Here's our wonderful engine right here, okay? And then in the front, you have 2 fans. And then you have a radiator, right? Radiator has a cap. Radiator has an overflow reservoir. You have a water pump. You have relays. I'll get to all this in a second. All right, so I took her advice, turned on the air conditioning, and the car didn't overheat. But once I turned off the air conditioning, guess what that needle did? Right? It started going into the red. So I went with the obvious basic stuff. I changed the fluid, the radiator fluid, right? The radiator water, the antifreeze. I also changed the thermostat because I said, well, maybe the thermostat is sticking, so it's causing it to get hotter. That's always a possibility. Go with the obvious with the fluid. So we did that. And then I noticed the car was still overheating. We were actually going to different paint shops trying to get paint quotes because it needs paint, you know. And when we pulled into the paint shop, the car dumped all this water over. And I said, well, that can't be good. It dumped it over. What's going on? Well, soon I find out that the overflow reservoir had a leak, crack in it. You guys know what this is, an overflow? You know, they tell you, don't open the radiator because it's hot. So you open the overflow reservoir and put your fluid there. What happens is when the engine gets hot, the water circulating from the engine to the radiator through the water pump. And as you're moving through the road, the highway, the air is coming through the radiator, cools off the water, sends it to the engine, the water goes through the engine, picks up the heat from the engine, takes it back to the radiator, flows and cools off, and then it does it all over again, just kind of cycling through, okay? But when the water level goes down for some reason, it starts to have less flow. And if you have less flow, then you can't control heat in the engine and temperature gets higher. So the overflow reservoir is meant to supplement the radiator when the radiator starts to lose water. Okay? So when this heats up, heat expands, it causes pressure, it starts pushing the water overboard because it's hot, it's expanding. So when it comes out of the radiator, it gets thrown overboard. It's evident that the water level is going down. because the water overflows to the ground. So I said, boy. Now, does anybody have an idea, first of all, how much something like this would cost?
$20.
40
The
grand.
reservoir.
You went, I guess I could say it like this. If you went to the dealership to buy an overflow reservoir, do you have an idea how much it would cost?
4 grand.
That's more the answer I was looking for. Probably about $80 for that reservoir. But I went to pick apart. Anybody ever go to pick apart junkyard? You just go take your part. I went over there with my tools, took off the reservoir, put it in. And I said, oh, cool. So I got that done. I've already changed the thermostat, the fluids, but the car's still overheating. What the heck's going on? Now, a little secret here. When you turn on the AC, the answer I was looking for is this. When you turn the AC on, not only does it load down the engine, not only does it build up more heat, but it also turns on the 2 cooling fans. Interesting, right? So if you turn on the 2 cooling fans, now you're bringing cool air, you're forcing it through the radiator, even if you're at a stop. The cooling fans are sucking the air through 10 to 12, right? 10 to 12.
Sorry,
Yeah, don't put that green on me yet. No, I couldn't be talking that long already. So that those fans are pulling the heat through the radiator or cooling off the engine. You guys understand? So the fans are coming on with the air conditioning. But you can't run the air conditioning forever because, like you said, you're loading it down, you're heating it up, and you're running the fans all the time. So what makes these fans come on besides the air conditioning? Does anybody know?
The heater.
What?
The heater.
The heater? Well, that'd be for comfort, right? For the car, for the passengers, right?
Some sort of solenoid.
What?
Some sort of solenoid.
Close. You're close. What it is a sensor. There's a sensor. Here's the water pump, by the way. The water pump is pumping the water, just kind of like your heart pumps your blood through your body. The water pump is pumping the water and circulating it through the engine, through the radiator, back and forth. The thermostat controls temperature to maintain a certain temperature so the engine runs at optimal heat for smog and for things of that nature, fuel injections and so forth. But the water pump is pumping away, but you have 2 sensors on the engine, I found out. We found out because we've been crawling under the car together. I'm making a mechanic out of Andrew here, which is really good. Well, I went to AutoZone and I said, this is what I got going on. Do you guys have a sensor for this? And they said, yeah, we do. We have this one. Great. I changed it. You know what this one was? This one was the gauge sensor. So it tells you the actual heat that's going on in the engine at the gauge, inside while you're driving. So we changed it. I said, my gosh, the car's still overheating. What's going on? I said to myself, these fans are coming on when I turn on the AC. Or are they? I would imagine they are. So we also got in here and we touched the fans directly to the battery through wires, of course, right? We hooked them up and the fans went vroom, vroom. So we said we have good fans. Now, because the fans take high power, relays are in the system, so when they come on, the relays take a big part of the load, but they're still part of a switch and an electrical system to turn these fans on. So then we started looking at changing these relays. But these relays, believe it or not, they don't have them in AutoZone. They don't have them in regular places. They're special order. They come from the shop and it takes 2 days, 3 days from the warehouse. They don't have them. So I said, well, we know the fans are coming on. So I'm going to guess that the relays are good. Is that a good assumption? I think so. Well, we changed this already. So then I went to O'Reilly. Anybody ever go there to this field? I went to O'Reilly. And the guy said, oh yeah, I got the sensor. And when I paid for it, I said, it sure looks like this one. And he says, oh no, it says radiator fan sensor. And I said, well, okay. So I take it home. And I said, it's the same as this one. I'm not going to change it again. So this time I went to the dealer. And went to the dealer and I said, well, I heard that there's another sensor on the engine that actually senses temperature not for us dummies driving, but it senses temperature for the computer, who in turn notifies the fans to turn on. They said, yeah, there's another sensor. All right, let me have that sensor. That sensor's under the water pump, isn't it? We didn't see it the first time we were under the car for some reason. We didn't see it. Well, what we did was, this morning, we lifted up the car, and we said, we're going for another sensor change. So we went under there, changed the sensor, but in the process, the system is loaded with water. Have you guys ever been showered with radiator water? We took a shower today, a radiator water shower. It's no fun. But you have goggles though, protects your eyes. It's really important. Everything else, you get wet, don't get it in your eyes. Okay, and don't swallow it. Huh? Don't swallow it. So we get this shower going. I have a finger trying to plug the hole. We actually disconnected a hose to try to bleed some of the water, but still came out. We changed the sensor. Let me show you what that looks like. This little sensor is the bad boy that's been messing with us since we bought the car. You know, maybe what, 2 weeks ago, I think. You can pass that through. For like 2 weeks now, that sensor has been messing with us. And in fact, it messed with the prior seller, right? The owner was driving around, turning on the air conditioning to cool off her car, when if she would have just done a little bit of troubleshooting, which we did a little bit of troubleshooting, we discovered it was that sensor. So that $30 sensor, believe it or not, has saved the engine from burning up. Because we got stuck on the roadway sometime last week. There was a pinhole hose on one of the hoses coming from the radiator to the water pump. It was just a little pinhole. My son saw it. He said, I think it's coming from here. And I said, you know, I think you're right. And we actually had to cut the line, right? We had the pinhole right at the connection point, more or less, plus or minus an inch. We cut off an inch of the hose and reconnected it. Because the hose, they wanted $35 for 12 inches of hose, because it has a little curve here and a little curve here, and it's $35. So I said, I don't think so. We're going to improvise. If I can't cut that inch off to make that work, then I'm going to buy regular hose at $1 a foot, and I'm going to get a piece of metal, right, Mr. Inventor and creative guy, and we put it together and move on. But in this case, we cut that inch off and it worked. So as of today, this morning, when we put that sensor on, we have a happy car. And we waited till the car got hot, sitting there in the garage, or in the driveway in this case, and we saw the fans come on, and I said, we're good to go. Put the car back down. Bam! We've been driving it all day, and the car's, it's actually outside if anyone would like to. But I will tell you before I leave that we just purchased another car, a BMW 525i. It's a 2003. It's worth about $9,500. Can you guys guess how much I bought it for?
65.
What?
6,500.
How about if I tell you? $1,000.
My car.
That's my next project.
Oh my.
That's my next project. You know what the lady says? The engine's messed up. It doesn't start. I said, what are you going to do with the car? And she says, I'm going to trade it in. I said, you know, for trading, they're only giving you like $500. Are you kidding me? I give you $1,000. She says, oh no, I want at least $1,500. I said, the car's not working. I'm going to go with a tow truck to take it away from your home. I give you $1,000. She said, okay, come and get it. I gave her $1,000. I can show you guys a picture. It's a clean BMW. I talked to my mechanic. He said for $2,000, he can get an engine, overhauled engine, another $1,000 to put it in. So for $4,000, we have a $9,500 BMW ready to rock.
Did you check the title? It's not salvaged or anything?
Yeah, it's clean. It's
No tickets?
my car. No. Yeah, no tickets. I'll find that out later, right?
Yeah.
But the point I was wanting to make is, when you have a car that has a little bit of problems, or some problems, in this case water heat, overheat, don't give up on it too soon. A little bit of troubleshooting can save you thousands thousands of dollars. Thousands. And you giving up on your car. I'm Toastmaster.